Right, I think we're live. I can't see myself in the thing for some reason. Hello. Go to stream incoming. I think we're good. Here we go. Here we go. Right, let me know if you guys can hear me okay in the chat. I think we're live. Yes, Sonny. Once the first person drops a message to say they can hear me and see me, then I'll crack on. Go on, Ben. Yes, Ben. Zorro Spurs Bear, Conliffe, Sonny, Andrew, Law, Matthew Cipolla. All good. Perfect. How are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are very good. If you're watching this not live, make sure to get in the comments and give me your thoughts. Obviously, with these streams, you can watch them. You can come and join me when I do them. I'm going to be tweeting out, obviously, in the run-up to let you know when I'm going to be live so you can hop in. And if you can't make it, you can still watch them on my channel anyway. And one thing you can watch on my channel right now is a new video that I uploaded on Matisse Tell earlier on today with the news that his signing on a permanent deal was confirmed. That video is out now. It's doing really well, so thank you guys for that. You guys seem to be really enjoying it. How Thomas Frank will make Matisse Tell explode next season at Spurs. I have genuine faith that he's going to improve him and turn him into a really potent attacker in the league. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Matisse Tell, I won't be talking about it too much in this live because I've kind of covered everything over there and I want you guys to go and watch that. So make sure to head to my channel to go and check that out. But in this stream, we're going to be talking all the latest kind of Tottenham rumours. Ben Jacobs was on Last Word on Spurs last night and had some interesting things to say about our transfer targets. We're also going to be talking about Mikey Moore and his potential injury and his performance yesterday in the Euro Under-19s Championship. We're going to be talking about Javi Simons, Eberechi Eze, Bryan and Mbuemo. We haven't really spoken about that since the updates that we kind of got on Friday and over the weekend. Cristian Romero as well, and a few other little bits. So if you aren't subscribed already, please make sure to get involved in these live streams going forward in the chat. I read all of your comments out and get involved. It's a good, just fun thing to do. And happy Sunday to everybody. Happy Father's Day as well to everyone. I'm going to see my stepdad after this actually, and I hope you guys are having a good day. Also, I want you to let me know in the comments what you actually want me to like. I've obviously put the Matisse Tell video came out today. Since Frank's been appointed, I've put out 4 videos in the last 5 days, how Tottenham are going to set up under him. If you haven't watched that, please go and do that. Really happy with that video. My reaction to Frank being appointed. There's going to be another video on Frank coming where I kind of talk about him as what he can bring to the club as not just as a tactical, from a tactical standpoint, what he brings as a person to the club and why I think he's a really good appointment. Me and Seb sat down and did a keep or sell as well. Nice big squad audit. That's done really well, so I appreciate that. And obviously the Matisse Tell video. So please let me know in the comments what you guys want to see next week and going forward as we kind of look ahead to the season. There's going to be all your usual stuff in terms of new signings and all that kind of thing. Hardest working man in Spurs content this week. Matthew, I appreciate it, mate. Archie Parker, I don't think we get Simons. We'll talk about that in a sec. We should bring back Dennis Sirkin. That's not a bad shout, actually, when you think about our homegrown issues and having to balance the squad for Europe. Are you going to do a review of yours and ours last season's predictions? I might do, but I feel like the ship has kind of sailed on that. But let's crack on. Also, if you are new, you guys will know that if you are new, you guys might not know that I make TikToks as well. 80k followers on that account. Please go and follow over there. Kind of talk general football on there, but as well as some Spurs. I've got a Spurs account as well. Uploaded a video on Jarell Hato. Gave my thoughts on Tell yesterday. All these other bits. There's a lot of content over there. So if I'm not on YouTube, you'll catch me over on TikTok. And also, I've got a new account as well where more Ben Bowman, where I just kind of chat waffle, do random stuff throughout the summer. So make sure to go and follow that if you just want to see some general content. I want to start with Mikey Moore because yesterday he scored the equaliser in England's 2-2 draw against Norway in the opening game of the Under-19 World Cup. He was really good. I can't obviously show the compilations on here. The footage will get it's copyrighted, so I can't show it. But there's a no, Alex, I don't post my TikToks on Instagram. Sorry, mate. But the link to my TikTok is in the description, so go and follow that. And my Instagram as well, actually. But Mikey was really good. Like I said, there's a good compilation floating around on Twitter. I just can't show you any of it. because it'll get taken down. But 1 goal, we got the equaliser, composed penalty, 4 successful take-ons, 100% successful long balls, 8% parks, actually 1 key pass, 5 ground duels, 1 clearance, 1 shot on target. There was a lovely particular bit in the second half where in the centre of the pitch, he got away from a player and drove forward. It was a really nice bit of skill. But unfortunately, he did pick up an injury. He landed really awkwardly on his ankle, which didn't look great. And as you can see from the photo, he looked in a lot of pain. So hopefully it was just an impact thing. Otherwise, his tournament, bear in mind he captained the side, he's captaining England in this tournament. It'll be a real shame if that was his tournament over. I really, really hope not. Kay said he is bad every time he plays in the league. You talking about Mikey Moore? I think you just got to be patient with him, man. He's looked Hazard-like for the chance he created for Watson. Was that the one where he kind of dribbled into the box on the byline and then cut it back? That was really, really nice feat. Really nice feat. Created a few chances yesterday, but hopefully he's okay. Yesterday against Norway, Mikey Moore became the 6th Tottenham player to score for England at the UEFA Under-19 Championship. More different players than any other club. Yeah, really, really, really positive stuff. Also on the under 21s front, Matisse Tel and Wilson Odobert played for France under 21s yesterday. Matisse Tel scored a goal from the penalty spot. Wilson Odobert was pretty lively as well, I would say. I think with Odobert, I think he just needs to find that little bit of confidence, be a bit more arrogant, be a bit less, almost a bit less nice on the pitch. And I think you're going to see him really improve next season as well. I think he's a real talent, and those two playing together, especially now we've signed Tel permanently, those two kind of playing together on a consistent basis is really good as well. I think Tel played through the middle, and I think Odobert started on the right and then kind of moved. I think he moved over to the left maybe, and then I think he played central for the latter stages of the game. They actually, when those two came off, that's when, who were they playing? I think, was it Georgia? Georgia actually turned the game round straight after Tel and Odobert came off. Shows you the impact of the Spurs boys. Archie Parker, you could make a similar video to last year where you predicted the squad for the Champions League. I could do that indeed. George Achillia has done a really good thread, basically talking about the complications that we're going to have on squad building. Joseph Smith, any news on Son leaving? I'll come to that, mate. Cole Peters is a must. We need 2 homegrown to make quotation. Timothy Whitaker, we do indeed, mate. We do indeed. On to some of the transfer rumours from the last couple of days then. Now, Ben Jacobs was on Last Word on Spurs last night, I think. And a lot of good information came out of that. I mean, Ben Jacobs is not always the most reliable, but he gets some stuff right occasionally. But some interesting stuff to talk about. There have been verbal conversations for Bryan and Mbuemo, but no formal offer has been sent to Brentford from Tottenham. Manchester United will remain his preference. Now, there was rumours the other day of a £70 million bid coming from, I think it was the Mirror, Darren Lewis. Tottenham have launched a £70 million offer to hijack Manchester United's move for Bryan and Mbuemo. I'll be honest, I think that is quite premature. I don't think that has happened, and I think a lot of people have kind of poured a bit of water on that and say that Tottenham are definitely interested, but they haven't made an offer yet. I mean, I don't think... Have Manchester United made an offer, or did they get their initial offer rejected? I know there was talk of agreement on personal terms, and obviously he's expressed his desire to go there. But again, Thomas Frank is a big player in this, and Champions League football will hopefully be a player. But again, United will just offer higher wages, and I can't see Spurs spending 70 million and then offering him the money that he wants. But Brentford might well end up accepting the offer, and Man United might not come in with the money that Spurs are prepared to pay for him. I personally think, although he's coming off the back of a 27-goal contribution season, he's got 1 year left on his contract with an option to extend. So £70 million for a player with 2 years essentially left on his deal. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And obviously last year was his big season in the Premier League. But he is only 25, 26, so there's a lot to come, and he's not even necessarily in his not even necessarily in his prime yet. He's kind of approaching it. So, yeah, he's 25. He's going to be 26 in August. Those those wage numbers are the stumbling block in that deal. Don't see us coming close to the wages United reported. Yeah, I don't really either, to be honest. I don't either really, to be honest. But I do think maybe the deciding thing would actually end up being the fee. And then it kind of gets taken out of Bryan Mbuemo's hands a little bit. And he ends up going to Spurs if Spurs are really prepared to go big for him. I do think we definitely need I do think we need another right winger. But this is why I'd maybe be more interested potentially in where is he? Antoine Semenyo, who Ben Jacobs also said, I'd go as far as to say, if Mbuemo doesn't come off for Spurs, Semenyo is the number one choice. Now, I do think with Semenyo, he does offer you that versatility of being able to play on both sides, which I think is going to be handy when building this squad, because I do think Mbuemo kind of limits you maybe in that aspect. But then again, like, you just know you're getting someone that's come off the back of such an excellent, potent season. But maybe Semenyo might be more of a fit for what we need. I don't think Semenyo... I'm not sure about Semenyo being homegrown. Obviously, he's Ghanaian. I think he might be homegrown in the Premier League, to be fair. But that's a good question. Double the fee of Turkey, double the player. Well, the thing is, it's comparing fees like that. It doesn't really necessarily always make sense because, you know, I think that was Turkey's like release clause in his contract. So, you know, it just is what it is really with that. Semenyo, yeah, and I've heard some things about Semenyo potentially. I got a wild... I won't say who messaged me last night, but I got a wild message from someone saying that Semenyo was out in Mayfair and told someone that he was coming to Spurs, which do I believe that? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you who told me that. But it's an interesting one. And again, Semenyo for 50, 60 million. Again, 50 million, I'm not sure I'd be that against that. 60, 70, again, with Bournemouth not necessarily needing to sell, because they're in a position where they've just sold Howson for 50 million. They're selling Kirkers. Zabani looks like he's on his way out as well. So they have all of the kind of cards on the cards to hold and sort of demand whatever they want for Semenyo, really, because they don't need to sell him at all. So we'll see. But I do like the idea of Semenyo. I do think he can kind of, where he can play on the right and the left, I think in terms of building the squad and having kind of these hybrid players is quite important while adding Premier League level quality. He's a really good carrier of the ball. He's a good presser. He's a good ball striker. I think he can become a little bit frustrating at times and a little bit almost inconsistent. And I don't know, like a little bit, what's the word? A little bit hungry, a little bit too hungry kind of in front of goal, where he's quite too eager almost to get shots off, and it can be quite frustrating. But I do think, again, he's a really good player. And when I think any attacker that we're linked to, I'm excited about because of Frank's kind of track record of being able to improve these attackers. But like Mr. G says, unfortunately, 60 million plus is the going price for any Premier League proven player. So I'm not too caught up on the fee, but obviously it's, you know, I don't necessarily want it to limit our ability to spend in other areas when this... Look, I don't think this squad needs loads, especially with a manager coming in that I think can profile players really well and correctly and improve a lot of these players from what we saw last season. But, you know, we don't want to limit ourselves too much, I would say. So, yeah, keep an eye on the Semenyo thing and Mbuemo. I still think Mbuemo, in my eyes, probably ends up at Man United. I would probably say that. But we shall see on that. What else have we got to talk about? In terms of other Brentford stuff, and let's quickly go to the comments. Easily Simons for me. Someone's asked Eze Simons or Semenyo. I'm going to talk about Javi Simons shortly. Ben, do you not think this will hinder Johnson's development? No, because I think Johnson is just a really handy weapon to have in that squad, and we got him when we were playing Champions League football. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. A lot of people have already said about Johnson they don't necessarily want him to be a regular starter next season anyway. So obviously we've got Kulusevski on the right as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how he uses him. But from the early indications and the early rumours, it does seem like Tottenham are in for a right winger. But maybe they might prefer someone like Semenyo who can play on both sides. We have signed Tell, so there will be no chance of seeing Mbuemo or Semenyo. I wouldn't rule that out. I wouldn't rule it out in terms of being able to get another one on top of Tell. I wouldn't rule that out. We'll love to see Kinski given a proper chance to become first choice goalkeeper next season, says Sonny. I don't think we should necessarily. I think maybe in pre-season give them the chance to battle it out, but I do think it's still going to be Vicario. I did see someone comment about the rumours that Vicario and Dragosin's agent was speaking to AC Milan, but I'm not sure how much that is true. Archie says, I doubt Levy buys a Prem-proven right-winger and Eze/Simons. I still think number 6 is the main issue and we haven't been linked with any. Yeah, that's a fair point. Ben, is there an argument for Brennan Johnson rotating with Solanke as the 9, given his goal-scoring record and lack of defensive responsibility? Potentially. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how Frank uses Johnson, because obviously when... I think, because I don't think... Was Kevin Schade at Brentford already when they were looking to sign... When did Kevin Schade sign for Brentford? Because obviously... what was I going to say? Obviously, when Brennan Johnson was linked with Brentford, it was the start of the 23, or it was the 23-24 summer, which is when we signed him. So Tony hadn't been banned yet, and Mbuemo was there. And did they sign Schade as an alternative? Yeah, they did. When did they sign him? Oh no, they actually signed Schade before. So they signed... Let me just get this up quick. So they signed Kevin Schade on June 12th, 2023, and they were still linked with Brennan Johnson on top of that after, because we signed Brennan Johnson on like deadline day, and Brentford were prepared to spend big on him. So that would maybe indicate that they were potentially looking to sign Johnson as a striker, knowing that Tony was probably going to be banned further down the line. And obviously they had Mbuemo. Obviously it could have been... I think Johnson... There is a chance that Johnson maybe gets used on the left as well. Again, a bit like what we saw with Ange in his first season. Maybe down the middle potentially. It's going to be super interesting. We don't really know. Ben, do you think Paulinho would be a good option? Yes, I'd agree. Hasn't hit off in Germany, so not an astronomical fee. Perhaps Paulinho, I agree. I think this is a guy, Paulinho... actually, hold that thought. I'll come back to that. Because I do want to talk about the midfield. I've got that lined up on another tab. Also, hold that thought. Matthew Cipolla Johnson can really possibly thrive as a second striker and Fox in the box role, plays to his strengths. This is the thing that's exciting about Frank, is that, and this is what I spoke quite a lot about in my Tell video earlier, sometimes it is just as simple as like playing to a player's strengths. And I think Frank is really, really good at that. He's a pragmatist kind of at his core, and that... I think when people hear pragmatist, they kind of think negative. It's being sensible in a way, and actually coaching properly and coaching to the player's strengths. So, and he will adapt to the situation, adapt to game state, adapt to circumstances, adapt to the players that he's got, and get the best out of them. So, Paulinho or Douglas Luiz, good shout. Do you think Solomon should stay at Leeds or come back to Spurs? I just think with I don't really want to get into all the other stuff with Solomon on here right now, but because there's been a lot of chat about that, but purely from a footballing point of view, I've never been that big on Solomon, and I do just think we've got too many players in that position. And there was Alistair Gold wrote something earlier that basically, because there was a report yesterday that came out saying that Spurs are going to give Solomon the chance in pre-season. They want him, Thomas Frank wants to see him being part of his squad. Alistair Gold basically came out and said earlier that I think Solomon is hopeful of maybe getting a chance, but Spurs will probably still look to sell him. So I'd imagine he will. He won't be a Spurs player next season. Belieber or Douglas Luiz? I mean, Belieber or Wharton would be amazing, but I'm just not sure how attainable they are. Maybe this summer. Ben, would you be against Sonny Hjulmand? I mean, I know he's got the Arsenal tattoo, but not necessarily, to be honest. But yeah, just another thing from Ben Jacobs last night. Justin Cochran was on Brentford's shortlist to replace Thomas Frank and was offered an interview by the Bees. However, Daniel Levy intervened and said, you either join with Frank now or stay at Brentford. So, and Daniel Levy wanted a Premier League experienced manager to replace Ange Postecoglou. And as much as I've been very critical of Levy and the board, and I still think the club will be in a better place when he relinquishes some control and Spurs maybe sell a minority stake. I know he's not the owner, he's the chairman, but I think we'll be in a better place. But I think they've made the right decision. Next up, Cristian Romero. if Cristian Romero leaves, then Tottenham will replace him with an elite level centre back. There was a article written by Sami Mokbel from the BBC, who is a very reliable journalist, who said no suitors have indicated that they will be willing to match Tottenham's £70 million asking price for Cuti Romero as of now. Now, we know Romero came out with that statement the other day of thanks for Ange Postecoglou. Brilliant timing. Excellent timing from Cristian Romero. He essentially said that, he was... Oh, let's get up the statement. While we do that, guys, make sure, if you are new, if you haven't subscribed already, please do click that subscribe button. Please do like the stream as well. That massively helps this push out. We're really on the charge with YouTube at the moment, so please do get involved. Love that from SCY Comps there. Very hot on 7-2. We're going to come and talk about, in a sec, Cuti Romero. Let's get up his statement. So he said, Ange, thank you for these 2 incredible seasons. You're a fantastic coach, but above all, a great person who deserves the best. From day one, you paved the way despite the many obstacles that always existed and will always exist beyond everything. We won a trophy and went down in history of this beautiful club, which is the only thing that matters. I wish you the best because you deserve the best. Thank you for everything. And there was a... what's that? I never always forget how to spell the guy's name. That Krish ITK, or like the guy on Twitter. What's his name? Let's try follow him. Let's try see if I can find him. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? If you know his app, please can you drop it in the chat? Krish, he's like he gets some stuff right, to be fair, sometimes. I can't remember his app. He tweeted something about Romero yesterday. What's his name? That's it. Nice one. I don't follow him. Where did he say something about Romero? Again, I don't know how reliable this guy actually is. It seems like he gets some stuff right sometimes. Cristian Romero will talk to new head coach Thomas Frank in the next week to discuss about his future. Sources suggest that Romero will talk to Frank before making an official decision regarding his future amid interest from important clubs. Romero is open to staying at Tottenham, however, wants guarantees about fighting and winning trophies. He does not want to play in a club with mediocre plans. It's not about financial reasons. Important clubs, including Atletico Madrid, have made contacts with Romero and offer him a project to fight and compete for trophies. Whether Madrid have the money that Spurs are asking to sign Romero would be one thing. Tottenham ideally don't want to sell Romero and have offered him a new contract renewal until June 2030, but if Romero decides to leave, Tottenham will ask for around 60 to 65 mil. Atletico have the most concrete interest in Romero and are ready to offer a package around 40 to 42 mil, which is less than what we paid for Romero, so that is just not happening. That is not happening. And Atletico, I think this is the thing with Levy, is that I think Romero's got 2 years left on his deal, and he's shown with players like Kane in the past that he's happy to, if he doesn't get the money that he wants for a player, they're not going anywhere. So apparently, so far, according to Sami Mokbel, no suitors have indicated that they'll be willing to match Tottenham's 70 million asking price, which, when you think of what Romero's won now, World Cup, Copa America winner twice, and a Europa League winner, a Europa League winning captain as well in the final, obviously. I think 70 million, based on the ceiling of his performances, even though you don't necessarily get that on a consistent basis all the time, is fair. I think that is fair. So, yeah. Who else have we got to talk about here? Comments. Why don't you leave on a free? You don't sell him. I mean, I think that's that's 2 years down the line. I don't think his contract's up next year. I think Basuma and Bentancur's contracts are up next year. Do you think Stiller is gettable and is he good enough? I think Stiller might end up at Real Madrid, to be honest. But speaking of midfielders, Tottenham want to add experience in central midfield, according to Sami Mokbel. Someone said about Paulinho earlier, which I think would be really smart, to be honest, considering I think Spurs lack that kind of destroyer midfield profile that is able to play in a double pivot. People forget that, it's not worked out for Paulinho at Bayern, but people forget how he was being talked about when he left Fulham. Like, a Premier League club could and should have paid £50 million to sign him, probably. He's that good. We've got 1,000 views on the live now, and we've also got 422 people watching, which is some of the best numbers I've ever had. So massively appreciate this. These lives are going to be regular. I can't always promise that they'll be daily, but they'll be as daily as they can be. But especially over the summer, we're gonna really go for it. So make sure to get involved. I think Paulinho would be smart. I do think he would be smart, personally. Name some other midfielders that I might do a YouTube video on this actually, like what midfielders could Spurs sign on the basis that we want to sign an experienced player. Again, experience isn't always about how old they are necessarily. It's about how many miles they've got in the tank, where they kind of played. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of that, we've got this to quickly talk about. Johan Lang and Thomas Frank are said to hold a similar view as to the profile of player required to take this team forward. Well-sourced places say there is a synergy between the pair. Obviously, Frank and Lang have worked together before. Got to get them in before the morning round of golf. Exactly, mate. I'm going to play golf later, actually, as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Spurs do. Tottenham talent Luka Vuskovic is expected to be handed a chance to impress in pre-season under Thomas Frank. Again, that's coming from the Daily Mirror. I think that makes total sense. Really, really does make sense. Again, Frank likes having these physically dominant, aerial, dual-winning centre-backs. Look at Nathan Collins. And I think it'll be really interesting to see him under Frank, and Frank, again, a bit like Tell, is going to love to get his hands on him. Now to Eberechi Eze. From Sammy Mockbell again, very reliable. He said Tottenham have been interested in Eberechi Eze, who has a £68 million release clause in his contract. I'm not sure where these Sammy Mockbell quotes came from. I've been continuously hearing that Spurs want to get the Eze deal done this summer. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, in the chat as well. Does it make sense? Do you just do it regardless of whether he's the right fit necessarily or not? Again, I think one thing that is hard to get away from is thinking about how Frank played at Brentford last season. And although I do think that will really suit the players that we've got, I do think that, again, that's not necessarily a guarantee as to how Frank is going to set up at Tottenham, even though, like, we made that video the other day, kind of basing it off last season. And I said that at the start of the video. That's not a guarantee as to how he's going to set up at Tottenham, but I think he maybe would. Which is where you can say, okay, is Eze going to fit into that as an inside forward? I don't, like Jack's just said there, I don't see where he fits in personally. T. Smith said, I don't want Eze personally. Harvey says he's too good for Spurs. I probably agree, but then again, I think Eze could play for anyone, man. I really do think he could. Love him, but doesn't really have anywhere to play for us unless Son leaves. Obviously, there has been rumours. Jose Mourinho met with Heung-min Son. Son has a good relationship with Mourinho. Is open to joining Fernebache. A transfer fee of €30 million is requested by Tottenham due to agreements in the Far East. And obviously, there's been talk about Saudi. I personally think Son leaves. And is €30 million a fair fee? I'd probably say around that. Obviously, like, it'd be great to get more, but I'd probably take that. I probably would take that, and then the wages are there to go and buy a marquee player like Eze. So there has been rumours about Saudi, obviously, with Son as well. So we'll see how that materialises. But my gut feeling is that he goes. I'm going to put a poll in the chat actually now, and make sure to vote in it. Make sure to get involved. Start a poll. Would you sell Heung-min Son? Yes or no? Kulu out to November, apparently. Where are you guys seeing this? Also, if there's anything, like if you guys are looking at Twitter or anything like that, if there's anything that you can see that comes up in the chat, comes up on Twitter that is worth talking about that we haven't already spoken about that's kind of happening now, then please do let me know. Archie Gray is starting for England's under-21 Euros game against Slovenia today. Let me just pop this in quick. Let me just look at the team quickly and see where he might actually be starting, because he started at fullback the other day. Chris is talking about Javi Simons. Well, let's get on that then, shall we? What has he said? Getting lots of questions about Javi Simons to Tottenham Hotspur. Here is the info I have regarding the situation. He's currently writing the post, so we'll come back to that. But yeah, Eze. I mean, I still do think we should probably do Eze. I'll be honest. I'd be happy with it. Gray in midfield, apparently. Okay, nice. I saw Livramento was playing, so I'd imagine it would be in midfield. So I personally am still hot on the Eze thing. I think that he's a sort of quality of player that you just make it work. I think there's better profiles maybe out there, but I think I'd be really happy with it. We've been chasing him for a long time. He's class, man. Would you take Ben Mee? No. Rudolph ITK bid for Wharton. I think that guy, I'm not going to lie, from what I've seen the tweets, no disrespect to him on a personal level, but he's a bit of a waffler. That's just not true, I don't think. Gray's at fullback, Sky Sports, but Hackney at centre-back. Interesting. What, Hayden Hackney at centre-half? Surely not. We'll see what materialises with Eze. Quickly on Matisse Tell. Obviously, like I said, if you're only just joining the stream, new YouTube video came out a couple of hours ago. How Thomas Frank will make Matisse Tell explode. I talked about my excitement for Tell under Frank next season, so go and give that a watch, as well as the other content that's come out the last few days. Apparently, Matisse, according to Alistair Gold, Thomas Frank was more than happy to give the green light to the deal. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, Matisse Tell scored yesterday for France under 21s, playing with Wilson Odobert, and the deal was around €29.8 million, plus obviously the loan fee we paid in January. So, in my eyes, pretty good deal. Alistair Gold also tweeted something earlier that I wanted to talk about. Some very brief thoughts on why we haven't heard from Thomas Frank since the appointment. Someone was asking about this in the chat earlier. As with most early summer appointments, it may be that talks with Frank took place away from Hotspur away while he was on holiday. So I think similar occurred with Postecoglou 2 years ago, when his own early June announcement contained quotes from Chairman Daniel Levy, which Frank's didn't this time, interestingly. But the Australian's first words on accepting the job did not arrive until 3 days later, when he arrived at the club's training complex and sat down for his media interview. So I think we'll probably hear from Frank tomorrow, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. But some guys were asking about that in the chat. Anyway, on Javi Simons, quickly, Ben Jacobs did say Spurs like Simons, but they haven't discussed a deal with Leipzig. Spurs willing to do a deal around €60 million. The price of Simons is currently unknown due to potential add-ons. It's one to watch this window. Now, that would be super exciting, obviously. And you're not going to get Eze and Simons. I think it'd be one or the other, and I'd be very happy with either. My gut would... I don't know. The poll on selling Son ended at 69% yes and 30% no, with 111 people voting, so thanks for voting in that. I'm going to put another one up now, Simons or Eze. Simons is not a winger. He is more of a 10, but he can play out on the right or the left. Simons is overrated. I'll be honest, I've always thought with Simons, when I've watched him, I've always kind of like come away wanting more, but I know that's only because I know the level of talent that's there. He's a superstar in the making, I think. Robert Palmer, thank you for the super chat, $4.99. Have to integrate Phillips and Devine into the squad this season, as they are B-list. Phillips will be club trade next season if we don't loan him. That's a good point, which I didn't really think about when I was doing my keep or sell, but that's very good to know. Would Simons play as a 10 on the wing? Both, I think. Both. I do think we need an understudy as a 10 to Maddison, whereas it's so complicated to know what's going to happen with like players like Kulusevski, etc. Why not just promote Luca Williams-Barnett? Luca Williams-Barnett is 16, so I think we're way off that at the moment. Simons feels more exciting, but I don't know if that's just because he's more unknown than Eze. Fair point. If we have 4 homegrown players, we could keep some, but we need to be strict for squad size. Don't think people realise how tight it is already. It is tight. Like I said, Georgia Killier did a good thread on this, which breaks it down. Eze for homegrown. Yeah, I think that does make sense. Akalush for right wing, Donnelly for 10. I mean, yeah, Akalush at Monaco is a very interesting prospect. Apparently, Chris is now posted on Javi Simons. Is that right? Yes. Tottenham Hotspur were exploring the possibility of signing Javi Simons from Leipzig. He was internally discussed, sources can confirm. RB Leipzig are open to a sale if a significant offer arrives. I think they're playing hardball at the moment with Arsenal over Sesko as well, so it's going to be a difficult deal to do. The club signed Xavi permanently from PSG in January for a package worth €82 million, with €50 million up front, plus €32 million in potential add-ons and bonuses, and would only consider selling for a fee in the same region. Tottenham Hotspur appreciate Javi Simons, and Xavi is believed to be open to a move to North London. However, the club are not actively working on the deal at this stage. Spurs believe the €75 million to €80 million valuation is a little too high. They will be not willing to pay more than the €50 million to €60 million package as of today. Fair enough. Tottenham Hotspur feel that other candidates on shortlists like Tyler Dibbling and James McAtee will cost cheaper and have similar impact at the club. Let's see if Tottenham Hotspur decide to pursue a potential deal for Simons, but as of today, Tottenham are not actively working on the deal. Other Premier League clubs along with Bayern Munich are also interested in Javi Simons. Also possibilities for him to stay at Leipzig if a good offer doesn't arrive. Open situation. I think that's my gut. He ends up at Bayern because I think Bayern are very interested in an attacker. McAtee, I do like McAtee. I do. But that's... We'll see what happens with Simons. I do really like him. 55% on Eze. I probably would still lean towards Eze just because I know he's going to come in. Simons is an unbelievable talent. But, yeah, I think I'll probably still lean towards Eze. Anyway, just very quickly, Tottenham have discussed Ajax's 19-year-old defender Jarell Hato, according to Ben Jacobs. They haven't. Someone said in the comments to that, he then followed up with, I don't think they're in the race at the moment. I think that'd be such a smart signing, whether we actually do that or not. We shall see. I think he has got the potential to go to a bigger club than Tottenham. I think teams like Liverpool will be looking at him. But Spurs have shown they're able to attract these really young players, and he's played a lot of football at a very young age, is experienced, is a left-back, left centre-back profile that I think Spurs should definitely be looking at in terms of, balancing the squad. So I think this just makes so much sense. It's a no-brainer. But whether Spurs do it or not, I don't know. And finally, this was an interesting one. Alejandro Garnacho's priorities to stay in the Premier League. With Frank's ability to kind of improve players and has a track record of doing that, especially with attackers, would you take the risk on Garnacho? Kookaburra, I agree. Eze being... I said this in my how Spurs set up under Thomas Frank video, is that Eze, because we're going to play probably more with a natural 10... Maddison has got injury problems. Kulusevski, we don't know when he's actually going to be back. I do think signing a number 10 who can play out wide, like Simons or Eze, is really imperative. But yeah, Garnacho, I wouldn't be massively convinced, but I wonder whether this is something Spurs do look at. I think he's raw. I think there's a real talent in there, but I don't think we should do it, especially with signing Tell. But it'd be interesting to see. That's everything today, guys. Thanks very much for getting involved. 500 people in the chat at the moment, which is mega. Thanks so much. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to get involved in TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to everybody for watching. And if you're watching this after the stream was live as well, make sure to join us live for the next one so you can get involved. But if you didn't, I want to hear from you in the comments as well. Thanks very much. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and up the Spurs.